Welcome to Earth Empaths.
It is parasitic, the consciousness that's here. Sometimes I see it as imagery of like maggots, like a maggoty sort of energy that's sort of like it just eats. Its thought pattern is conquer and destroy, and that's what it does, and that's what it's done to other planets too, and that's what it's trying on this. So this particular planet, they want us all as well to think that this is an insignificant place in the middle of a universe, in the middle of a super universe, a tiny little dot that's when it isn't. This particular planet, Earth, is an anagram for heart. So this planet here is the one that they want to take control of. So they want to take control of the heart. The human heart is connected to the Earth. And that's the one that they can't. It's very easy to control the base chakra, because that's mainly what's driven through television and media all the time. That's all. Base is always, or like primal energy, bestial energy is sort of always invoked in that, and they can sort of feed from that. But it's the heart energy that they really want. It's in the hands of the people. We're the creators. They aren't the creators. They can't create. We can. Take responsibility and create for ourselves.
Well, during that time when I had my tumours and I was actually under severe attack by entities who were entering my body that way. And I had the sensation of spiders crawling under my skin. And the weird thing is in my house, I would constantly get these massive spiders dropping onto my laptop or near my desk and just totally freaking the shit out of me.
Of course.
Yeah, and on one level, I think, well, because spiders are actually symbolic in many ways on that level. So, and I was going through a very, very dark time. I mean, when I had these tumours, I had 6 kilograms of tumours in my womb, and entities in me. I knew it. I knew, and I knew that it was going to be a real fight when I went through my operation to survive, because it was a huge thing. I mean, they were crushing my kidneys and my organs and everything, and I had to get together a very big, strong group of people to help heal the space that I was going to be operated in. And after that, I mean, it was just really obvious that I was under attack, because right after my operation, I was stuck on a gurney, and taken up these steps because the lift wasn't working, and put in a room where there was a pneumatic drill above my head and banging that went on the entire time I was in hospital. I didn't get a break, hardly, and I thought I was going to die listening to that. And I knew that energy was just, wow, really going for it with me, and it's been like that since. But I had various situations on the coast where I was under attack in various ways that if I went into complete destitution, and I really was very near, I wouldn't have even been able to ask for help. It was so bad. One time, it's very complicated to explain. It's been really frightening for me the last few years. A really bad time. That's why I've got into more and more going back into the kind of these archonic entities, ankle biters, whatever you want to call them, and why they attack certain people more than others, and what you have to do in order to protect yourself, and it's daily. For me, I don't know about anyone else, but for me, it's a daily process. Being, for some reason, really latched onto with these parasites, and I've had to do a lot of work, internal work, to protect myself. And then various people come into your life, right? And the other thing I noticed that you may agree with or may not is that these people who come into your life and damage you are themselves hosts of certain entities, and that work through them in order to get to you.
Of course. Right, exactly. Oh, no, it's crazy, Carlita. I mean, I understand everything you're talking about. I have my own version of that story and the things that I've had to go through and how, and yet I look at it every time I look back at anything I've had to deal with. I go, I just got stronger. I got smarter. I now understand how these things operate. And, as you're talking to me, I'm like, yes, of course.
The other thing is, just briefly, a lot of people who interview other people are working for the wrong side. And one of my first interviews I had last year was with, she's an agent, and I didn't know how entrenched she was in the malevolent side of things. I was like, wow, yeah. So it doesn't surprise me, but. Sorry, I'd like to hear more about your experiences and insights. And
okay, I would like to share with you because it may help you, decipher what's going on around you, and it helps all of us to decipher really what is this threat that we're all under, and how does it get into people. Now, it happens to me, Carlita, that because of my background, which I won't go into, I mean, just what happened to me, what I pulled myself out of. Okay, so I feel like that was my soul's journey. I needed to go through all of these things so that I could later decipher it and then share what I'm understanding, so that I had close contact with. But I see what's happening. I can see, and they're very subtle layers of manipulation that we're looking at now, very difficult to show to anyone. And so I've been with just different people I've been in contact with. And what happens is their fear. Fear is number one. And their need, their own work, their need to establish themselves as an image. And so they're really empty. Their soul's going empty. And so what happens is the AI distortion fields is what I call them, enter in through them. And they start distorting realities around these people and other people I've been in. And so what I see happens is as soon as the entity feels like it's going to be noticed by the person that's hosting it, it gets outright crazy. And it connects with this huge web of AI intelligence, which will derail that person immediately from finding out what's really going on.
I've seen that too.
What of AI? You can't be terrified of this thing. If you are, you're already gone. You're sinking your own ship. Right? And that, unfortunately, with a lot of targeted people, of course it goes through us to fear. It's going to go after bodies, our income, our family members, the people we love. It's going to find a way to affect us no matter how it can. So for myself, my journey now in the last year and a half has been to sovereignty, my own soul sovereignty. And so I've really, every time something comes in that's either fear, doubt, something happens and it looks like it's going to be very detrimental to me, my way of handling it is saying, no, I'm a sovereign spiritual being with a divine inherited right, and I don't have to agree with that. I just don't have to buy into it. And I understand you, because when it comes to your physical form, when these entities get into us, we are in spiritual warfare. We are. And I am not denying that these things actually happen. Of course they happen. They happen to me. And I mean, I was on the floor with, you can't know how many times, literally fighting with demons.
I understand, because that's exactly, I mean, it was a weird setup for me when I was in the jungle, because I was completely isolated. I didn't see anybody that I knew for a whole year, and I don't quite know why I chose to put myself into that situation, but at that time, I felt safer there than I did here, because it's very easy to find people here. And there I was a bit worried because I was writing this book, and after some articles I wrote that I would be, expunged from Ecuador at that time. And so, but it didn't, the isolation didn't really stop the negative energy on a spiritual level. So it was a huge, intensely huge learning experience for me, and I went through some really intense stuff, like it sounds like you did, to try and avoid these beings taking full control over me, or encouraging me to kill myself, So yeah, it really is. It does get very intense, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because you can't talk about this stuff to people. They think you're insane. They think you are completely insane. But this is a whole different level, isn't it? It's a whole different level that we are working on, because every day we're not just in this realm. We're also fighting a battle on the fourth and fifth dimension, where these beings hide, and then they can come into this realm through us, and it's just extraordinary how many people have been so cruel and mean to me in the last few years. And I know it's these beings working through them.
I find that so hard to even imagine, really, Carlita. I mean, just knowing your energy and feeling what you're here on the planet and what you're doing, I'm like, how could people be cruel to you? I mean, it's incredible, really. But how are you now? Where are you physically right now? I mean,
Not
I don't mean
great.
location-wise.
Again, this is one of the reasons why I need to go back, because I have a lot of pain in my operation area. It's a huge, massive amount of tumours that they took out and cut away. So my organs have all rearranged themselves in a different position to most people's, and I nearly lost a kidney. So I struggle a lot, and I've been struggling on other levels, with these entities, and I know I need to be back home near friends and family, because I'll be a lot stronger. I can't keep myself isolated as I have, and you see, my thing is, when you spend a long time working in environmental stuff, it really affected me emotionally after so many years, and just feeling like hopelessness, and then having to convert that into something more constructive and positive through writing. And I've had I've had a big disdain for most of humanity, but then you sort of have to learn that there's a lot more going on. There's an ecology of different entities working into this realm, and I mean, I have absolutely no idea what the full picture is. I don't think anybody could, but it's definitely been an intensive, fast-paced learning curve for me. But I've only just, it was a month or two ago, I was researching into the D-Wave stuff and listening to Geordie Rose, and oh my God. And did you hear his talk about describing the D-Wave computer as a mantle to make? Yeah.
Alien. Yep, I did. I mean, I'm spreading that on my forum right now. I'm trying to get it. I'm sending it out on Skype messages. I haven't put it on Earth Empaths on Facebook yet. I find Facebook is becoming almost like useless, and that's what got me into that. You see, it was like, this is how we connect, though, and we can use this medium, because this artificial intelligence, these computer systems that Google owns, the D-Wave thing, right? So I'm feeling it. I'm not even knowing about it. I know there's quantum computers, but I haven't looked into it. And I'm starting to track the energy of it. I'm going, holy fuck, man. This thing is interacting with me, and it's trying to create an experience. And as soon as I noticed that, I started having glitches everywhere on Facebook. My Gmail accounts weren't loading. I mean, and I'm
Yeah,
laughing. I laugh at
I
this shit
think I'm
now,
at the same place
And
as
I'm
you
like,
there, for sure.
and then I see that, these people were blocked on Earth Impacts, and I look at the list and I go, Carlita, why is she blocked? Right? And I know I didn't block you. I know Claudia didn't block you. So, I go back and I get a hold of you, and now we're having this conversation. And see, this is how we can overwrite all of this interference. It's just by staying true to our own compass, and so, and as soon as I'm on that track again, I'm getting
Because it's
passive again,
such,
right?
because it's such a powerful truth. It's what is fully controlling everything else. That I recently came across John Lash and the Sophia story, and for me, that, I don't know about you, but for me it really resonated as one of the main explanations as to why we're dealing with these entities.
Interview John. I know John. And John Lash, the group that we started out of Avalon was a group of women, and we all had healing abilities, and we started working with Gaia herself. We had no agenda, nothing we were following. We were just, each of us were following our own truth code. Truth is encoded in us, right? I mean, it's there. And we've been together now for 5 years doing work. And the first person that we felt that touched what we were experiencing was John Lash. Like, and right now, Carlita, this thing with the quantum, I'm glad you know enough about it.
From my intuitive side, with CERN and the D-Wave, I really do feel like that they're just trying to create gateways for these entities to control people even further. And they're opening up all kinds of portals for that. And yes, obviously, their main interest in the D-Wave and Geordie Rose's work, and among many of the others, Elon Musk as well, and all those. I mean, wasn't it Ellen who even said AI is the biggest threat to humanity? But that's part of their programming. They have to kind of be inadvertently open about what they're doing so they're not karmically compromised. But they still, that's their way of trying to get out of it. But I've just had so many strange things happen to me, especially since my book was published last year. And I know the main reason is because it presents alternative free energy as one of the solutions to many of humanity's problems. Yeah, and they don't like what I published. I'm one of the very few environmental scientists that will take on geoengineering and free energy as
the solution,
the main problems that we're dealing with, and this main solution. And there aren't many environmental scientists that take any of those things seriously. So my work's very marginal, and that's why nobody would ever publish my book. Even the alternative book publishers would be too afraid to touch it. So the hell I've been through since that book came out has been unbelievable. Like you, my computer constantly, every few months, is under viral attack, and is the hard drive is wiped. Always some problem online that makes my life really difficult, and it doesn't help that I've got certain limits financially in other ways, and that my work is completely online. So that's one of the other reasons why I know if things are to change for me financially, I have to find a way of relying on the net completely, that, because otherwise this is just going to continue, because it's just been like trying to destroy me completely, and I've gotten to levels of despair because I've been so stressed.
I'm just thinking, because I went through the same type of severe stress under totally different circumstances for totally different reasons, and it lasted. It was so lasting, and I was at that bottom level where I thought I'd just rather die because I had no energy, and that something in me just said, you've got to keep going, right? And but no, I'm just thinking because of the stress to help the hormones is either ashwagandha or holy basil tea were fundamental in helping me. But I don't know if you can get them in Ecuador. But if you get back to the UK, do even drinking holy basil tea all day. It'll start to take out of the cortisol out of your system and reestablish some of your hormones because, I mean, it, I mean, I don't have to tell you, the long-term stress is what's, it's a killer. And,
I think,
and we do need our physical forms right now. We do.
I know. I'm not going to allow this destructive thought pattern to annihilate me, and I'm not going to allow it to win. I really have had enough, and I've so had enough. I've got my even though I'm absolutely exhausted, I've still got my armor and my sword, and I'm willing to carry on. But sometimes I feel like
and get out of isolation because I feel like you need to get out of Ecuador. I mean, it was like so clear. She needs to get out of Ecuador. Ever since I left, my life has been much better. So much better, Carlita. I don't know what's buried in the deep psychosis of that country. Oh, I do know, and you know. I mean, the suppression of the Incas, and the whole thing there is just heavy.
It's so tragic. It's just beyond heartbreaking. Beyond heartbreaking. What's going on with the indigenous is systematic destruction, but saying that the tribes are staying strong and doing what they can, but it's a David and Goliath battle everywhere, not just here, but everywhere. And when you get to that level, it's like, well, there's nothing you can do. You just have to do what you can within your own community and your tribe of souls, and to help raise awareness. But I think what I'm interested in with you as well is, how do you deliver what you and I can see going on to other people? It's such a...
Well, part of Carlita, and I know this, and I believe me, I'm fortunate that I have so many people around me that know exactly what you and I are talking about. And it's been by us staying together. Now, when we're in a group situation, somebody will always be attacked, always, but they can't attack all of us. Right. And so, I mean, oh my gosh, they're just these beautiful, powerful souls. They're just beautiful, and we all go through times of doubt, attack, and fear. And yet I find that when we just step one more step forward into truth as a group, or if it doesn't, I've been doing several of them, and I also feel that's another thing is to keep changing the cast of characters, because none of us are interested in image. None of us are interested in being a personality. We're only interested in truth.
Well, this is for me the kind of level I'm at. I'm just so tired, Christine, of all these imposters across that. It would be much.
Well, see, that's the thing. This is exactly what, a lot of the toxic play and we just put out our little videos all the time, and it is always will come down to ego, to somebody that hasn't, the people out there in the, as my friend Radagast calls them, the community audience, right? Those that are consuming the free information that we're putting out all the time, right? Who give nothing back, and if they can rise themselves to anything, it's criticism.
Yes.
It's like, this is your humanity.
Exactly.
That we're standing here for.
Oh God, yeah. And then the people will continue to support these evil entities because they're so taken in by their enlightenment's bullshit.
I know. I know. Well, this is what we're talking about, and it's a fine line when we're speaking about other, because there are people that but we've actually done a pretty good job, Carlita, on our different YouTubes. They know that the market that's out there is now internet. It's not mainstream. Right? So, they're all these people are primed in. I mean, but what I'm interested in is seeing how this is being done, because it's the underlying control matrix. And it's much deeper than we're aware of even yet.
Yes.
It's so deep. And, that's so hard to disclose, Carly.
It is. It is. It's extremely hard to disclose without making yourself seem like you've lost it.
Yeah, or lost it, or you're attacking people.
Yes, that's also the other problem.
Life you can live as if you are in a hypnosis. That's how 99% people live. Or you can live with intensity, awareness. If you live with awareness, you mature. A mature one never dies, because he will learn even through death. Even death is going to be an experience to be intensely lived and watched, allowed.
This is what's happening with a few of us coming together. It's like, you've had contact with these people, I've had contact with these people, Randy's had contact with these people, and and it's just like the story that's emerging here. What I'm really interested in is how they're manufacturing this reality.
Yes,
That's where I want to get to. Why within us, and why? I've got to the point of I'm doubting everything I ever believed. As a reality. Now I'm farther along than that, so I know that's not the case, but oh my God. I mean, they have us so programmed. And this is the thing about the internet. The pulses, the subliminals, the NLP stuff that they're doing, all of it. And that's what people that are really getting into the English language are realizing, that our language itself is full of triggers.
Oh yeah, it's complete encoding. I mean, it's really ancient encoding of these symbols, ancient, and
it gets in at the subliminal level.
Yes.
Until you get aware enough. You see, that's what I think they're using. There was something about his voice and his energy that was recognized or programmed or whatever.
Yes.
And they're giving him script.
Well, that's what Max Spears was saying, and that's absolutely where I'm at, because, in my whole life's experience, we are we're energy receivers and transmitters, and we have our own frequency, and that's why I was interested in Max, because he would talk about this a lot, and he would say, your voice, your energy carries a certain signature, and that's why certain people can trigger other people, and I found him very powerful. I don't think he was always speaking the truth, but there was a lot of stuff that he said.
He speak the truth because he was such a programmed person.
Yeah.
But he did try. He was breaking program.
He was, and he was he had a very powerful heart, and he did care. So that's why he was finished off. Yeah. But
I've made a tribute to him afterwards, because I contacted a very clairvoyant friend of mine who doesn't follow media, right?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't follow this stuff. I mean, she's on the forum and she was on PA, but she doesn't spend her time on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I said, that was right when Miles put it out. I said, look, this is coming down with this personality, person that people know about. She never heard of him before. And I said, can you look with me? Can you just look with me and let's see what we pick up? And oh my God, I mean, so many people Max contacted that way. She just went for it. And he was there, and he was like, look, what I need people to understand is, don't look at my death look at my message, and it was just, it's written up. I wrote up verbatim. We were doing a Skype chat. Yeah, she saw people, 3 people in the room. Claudia saw 3 people in the room. Other people saw people in the room with 3 coats. And then, and he basically was saying, I'm completing a contract I made when I came here. I have to get out of this. I'm leaving. I want to go, and he was probably drugged. I mean, and he all had his own drug addiction problem. So, but God, I mean, it's just like, him as a spirit, anybody I know that touched with him as a spirit and people that are very tuned in just knew that he was here for love.
Absolutely, and that's one thing. I mean, I only heard about him just before he died, and then after his death, I was just like completely blown away. I was very moved by his energy, and I wrote a little article about him. And the weirdest shit happened after we're starting to understand how AI works. And if you're already an activist and a writer or a podcaster, they will go all out for you. And I for a while I thought, no, I'm hardly doing anything. I'm just sharing information from my perspective as well. That Max was a very powerful warrior, and his death triggered so much in way of people learning about what he stands for and AI, and I don't know if you got his last 3 interviews that he did when he was in Russia. In Poland, sorry. And one of them was where his very last interview was
when he was on the trampoline.
Oh yeah, and he was talking about one of the people who are involved in controlling him, and among others, and you hear the fire crackling in the background, and you hear it spitting and snapping every time he talks about this particular very, very dark, powerful person. And it just blew me away that, that is how, because that's been my experience throughout my entire life, and I was seeing it, hearing it, and that being was in the room with him and trying to kill him, and it just, that really, for me, his story just completely opened my eyes up to, yes, it was a big confirmation for me, especially after what I've been through last year, and with these tumours, I know that they were inflicted upon me, but because I'm such a powerful energy, I'm somehow escaped them turning into cancer, because actually what I was doing for 3 years was trying everything alternative to reduce them, but they still grew really fast, like cancerous tumours, and they were trying to kill me that way, and everything I went through with that, and before, since I was a child, I've always had one foot in the multi-dimensional, because since I was 14, I've been classed as a medical anomaly, because I've had different tumours before. I had that big one in my body, and it's very rare to get people who have reoccurring benign tumours that grow as fast as cancerous ones. And when I was 14 and I had my first tumour, my first operation, I had a huge kind of, I don't know whether it was an NDE or OBE. It was a combination of both, because I was under anaesthetic at the time, and that my experience that I had brought me into understanding about the multi-dimensional realm, and ever since then I've been in that state, and had very weird experiences throughout my entire life, that none of which made sense until the last few years, really, when I've just started to touch on this stuff.
Well, see, I don't, it's interesting how we all come together and find each other. And, I actually spent most of my life trying to be normal, right? I mean,
Spent most of your life trying to what?
being normal and accept. I mean, that was like, whatever, whoever, and, I have some of my memories back, of course, not all of them. And, and yet I feel, Carlita, and this is the thing, and I just want to say it in this way because you are now under protection. This cannot go on with you any longer. And I really feel strongly, I'm so attracted for all sorts of different reasons to persons like yourself. I find you, you find me, and we all find each other. But, I just feel so strongly inside, it was like, no, she's off limits. She's off limits. I mean, we have to start establishing that. And so when you said that you were going to, you made your own determination, well, it stands. And you have people standing with you. You have many people standing with you. You're not alone and you're not isolated.
Yeah, sometimes I get glimpses of that because to be honest with you, I've been destitute since last November, and the only thing that has kept me from being on the streets is the currency of kindness that my friends have shown me, and I've been absolutely blown away by that, because I really have been completely destitute. And I've been wanting for a long time to talk about this, and as a form of targeting, because there's a number of people out there that I know who've been through various forms of it themselves, but this is one of the most challenging, and for me, it's given me a lot of insight into how love shows itself and keeps others supported in such horrifically difficult times. But that's just one example of the extreme repression that people like us are experiencing, and this is one reason why I don't want to give in to the negative programming, immediately, and to sabotage myself, because I think it's really important to, as you say, get this information out there in a way that it can be supportive to others who are just starting to understand.
And we must, as consciousness, as humanity, those of us that can, we must confront this, because, and I don't mean confront it by, marching in the street. I mean, we need to consciously confront it, because behind all of that is we are the most powerful things here. That's why they've been, usurping our power for all these, eons of time. And it is our time. It is our time, Carlita. And I feel that so strongly in me. And, it's just, I don't want to stop. I can't be stopped. I've given my life to this now. This is my, and I finally found, as much as I tried to hide, my spirit didn't let me hide.
Yeah, that's me too.
And it just didn't let me, and all the experience I had before I even met the alternative online, information sources and all that was all to teach me, how these things operate. And then it was black magic. And so, it's like we're here. And I don't know what the next step for you or for me is right now, but I do believe that we are supported. I don't believe it. I know we're supported. And I tell myself every day, I'm so free of the money system. I am free of the money system. I will be supported. I will. And I always have just what I need. I haven't had more. I don't have luxury, but I've always had what I needed. I've never been let down.
Okay, there's a lot of negative people who get on the manifestation bandwagon, and the thing that nobody ever talks about with manifesting is the AI obstacle in that, and that for me has been a huge issue, because I've been very powerful at creating resources for myself for a while, up until the last few years. And that's when I've been really heavily attacked by AI. And I don't know anyone in the alternative media that ever would tackle that issue, because you have to do a lot of work on yourself to even get to a point where you can key into that level of consciousness and help, support yourself if you're going through a difficult time. And then, if you're being attacked as well, it's impossible to manifest. You can't when you're being attacked, and so that sort of thing needs to be discussed.
Well, this is exactly what I hope to be discussing on this next panel. We've already done 2 pieces, or maybe a subsequent one. We've already done 2 pieces on just that, but not in the AI turn of it. This is what this is where I made my stand, and this is what I stand for. And I will be tested, I know it, but I see, and my last talk I did, a little short one, was fundamentally the power of our human imagination. We haven't begun to visualize the world that's coming, right? We're still trying to fix a broken, corrupt system that doesn't work. We're still trying to fit a new world view in an old world paradigm. It doesn't hold.
Yes.
We have to go outside of that.
Yes.
And so I'm giving all of my being, okay, back to the spirit, which is your spirit, my spirit, and all spirits. Right? And I know I need to survive. I'm not stupid. So like I'm making overnight. I'm trying to solve these things. So I offer something tangible, real to somebody that they can say, oh, I can give some money for that. Because most people won't give money for information. Unless you're in the system somewhere. And then the system will welcome you back in. And then the system will always welcome you back in financially if you go back into the system.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you're standing out of it, I'm actually finding a huge freedom here, Carlita.
Yeah, there is a huge freedom in being out of it. It's just how the hell you survive on that level.
I want to address that with the supposed alternative community, and just say, look, okay, there are people out there. They're doing everything, like you said, you have to get to a level of consciousness. It's a hell of a lot of work. It's not an easy road.
No.
And they're not looking for status. They're not looking for guruhood. They're lovers of truth, whatever you want to say. And say, most people won't even buy a book from Carlita, as an example.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't see how they want immediate gratification. They want something back immediately. And here we are, free information, giving our hearts and souls on an AI medium that's controlling the experience of everybody that's watching it, right?
Yeah.
And so, how do we get through that, Carla? This is exactly what I'm looking at, Carlita, that I want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, it for me, that's where I'm up. That's what I'm up against. I'm completely out on a limb here. Who is being victimized by that entity? To realise that you can't take this personally, because you're not actually a victim. I'm not saying but when you're targeted through other people, you start to see that it's not there.
No, I understand.
Necessary. So that helps me deal with it emotionally. It's the only way I can.
Well, because it is the right way to deal with it. I deal with it the same way. Yeah. I just don't take it personally.
And I think this goes back to what you were saying earlier on. When people get to celebrity status, there's a point where they get taken over, or they don't. But most people are, and it's interesting to find out, well, why is it some are and some aren't? or is it the only way you can get to that level is if you're completely taken over, because they're not going to let you get to that level, and if you're a pure spirit that doesn't let your ego overtake you, and you see these people who are all at that level, and everyone else is fawning over them, and then when they become fallible, everyone just sort of freaks out, and it's cognitive dissonance. But the point we need to kind of push across is that people have to stop falling into the hands of these puppets who are just doing the same thing again. We can't follow anyone else. It's an inside job. It's bloody hard work. And it's going to be a really hard path. Projects and all these other people who have these movements where they're trying to bring people in and get them to follow and give their energy. And you get, I've made the mistake so many times, with, kicked in the mouth after putting all my time and energy and resources into that. And I think that's part of why they're doing this, to take our energy away and our attention away from the true work. And it's hard because we want to come together and we want to work together and we want to collaborate. We need to warn people not to get sucked into, not to get sucked into New Earth Nation and anyone else that claims to have the solution, follow them, and just make sure that they get that.
That's the
I can't really articulate myself very well today.
Oh, I understand you perfectly well, and I'm just thinking of the obstacles to that, because the thing is that you and I and others have had direct contact with these people. The audience out there hasn't, so they're really stuck in a perceptual reality. And they have to choose who to believe.
Yes.
And it's fundamentally, there's something really wrong there that we need to address that.
took the stars from my eyes, and then I made a map. I knew that somehow I could find my way back. Then I heard your heart beating. You were in the darkness too, so I stayed in the darkness with you. And the stars, the moon, they have all been blown out. You left me in the dark. No dawn, no day, I'm always in this twilight, in the shadow of your heart. And the stars, the moon, they have all been blown out. You left me in the dark. And no dawn, no day, I'm always in this twilight, in the shadow of your
bigger picture, and as well as the fractured, fragmented pieces, and that's always been the way I've worked. So on that level, it kind of helps, you know, with this abstract concept, because it is abstract to a lot of people, and there is just too much toxic disinfo out there, and being manipulated by these celebrity alternatives. And I think it would be a very courageous subject to talk about, but it's also very challenging, because how do we do that without, as you said earlier, sounding like we're trying to sabotage those people, you know?
Well, one video we released with Lily Earthling, Randy Moggins, Claudia, and myself, I think it was just the four of us, and it's called Disclosing Disclosure, and we did tackle it. We each have a very specific way of speaking. I don't know if you know Lily Earthling. It's not an option this time. You know, we can't feel because they're trying to time loop us back into the destruction, and they're trying to cleanse the planet again, so they can reinstall humanity and feed off of us for another billion years.
Yes.
Is that not going to happen?
Yes.
You
well,
know?
That's partly what we're seeing right now as well. The darker side of geoengineering is, unfortunately, they're already people are already breathing in these microchip nanoparticles, and being targeted that way, or turned into zombies. I mean, that, you know, there's part of me that really doesn't want to go back to that. But they're doing it here too. It's just not as bad. The spraying, the geoengineering and stuff, it's not as bad. But they are doing it here. I mean, even when I was in the Amazon, I was seeing them spray particularly directly over indigenous areas. in the really remotest part of the Amazon where you have to fly in. So, you know, that's just confirmation that, you know, they're trying to take people over, and then that's also why they're trying to completely decimate indigenous people, because they don't want Westerners learning how to get back to living with nature, or to have the indigenous knowledge of medicinal plants, you know, to that information to be given out.
They are trying to wipe out everything, all of our ancient knowledge, because we're picking it up. They can't do that. They really cannot do that, you know. But that's why that's why they took out Iraq, Iran, Libya, all that area. I mean, you know, it's just like because
it's not just for the oil. It's because of the ancient knowledge that is there. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, I mean, I even, you know, like there's somebody, like apparently they're building a wall around the Giza Plateau, and people will be able to view the computers on a big screen AI generated CGI thing. That's what you're going to get when you go to Egypt now. I mean, they've been working on this for a while. So it's like all of this. And I think our challenge, Carlita, is how to get this out coherently and also reach outside the bubble of the alternative listening audience. Because, and you know, I don't think we've hit our strength yet in being able to do that. You know, but we'll just keep trying. We are in a multidimensional universal model now. Our minds have expanded into the multidimension. So what we're trying to do, though, is bring it down to a level where people that aren't quite there can hear what we're saying.
Yes. Yeah, well, the challenge is putting that abstract information into understandable words, and conveying abstract concepts. Harold brought in, and Max. I think Max particularly sacrificed himself to expand people's awareness in that way. They have to be ready for this as well.
The metaphor I like to use, we can put this out there like water.
Yes.
It's like a stream of consciousness.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be confrontational. And when we get through it that way, in some way, we don't get as many repercussions. Because we're talking at a vibratory level that's clear. It's almost in the invisible scale. I'm sure you're pretty sure you understand that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the tonality, or that's the place. You know what I'm doing. I'm trying to put words on things that don't really have words, right?
It's such a huge topic because it's more than our limited vocabulary can convey. Because our vocabulary is only for this realm, although it's keyed in and coded by fourth and fifth dimensional energy. And so we unfortunately lack the language, but I think the more we attempt to communicate what we're experiencing, you know, the easier it will get.
Right.
Thought I was going to die on the operating table last year. I really was prepared mentally and physically, so I was just willing to try anything. And then I realised that it was a mistake because I let this person into my energy field and they were malevolent. You know.
Yeah. And they look like they're benevolent and they're malevolent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they're running entities. They're running an AI program. Mm-hmm. And so they're hyper intelligent. They're super intelligent, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they put forth this, you know, incredible picture of what the universe runs on, and you just, I mean, and that's, it's how do you know? And I'm at the place where you know, for me, the only answer is love, Carlita. But people have to know what that is, and they have to find it, and they have to be it.
Yeah, well, it's true, because, you know, that is the only thing that separates people like us from people who get taken over by the celebrity status and limelight and following. We don't. Our hearts are stronger. The heart energy is stronger, and it can't be taken over by the ego. It can't be overridden. But with people like they've been completely so deeply taken over. And I'm not saying we're any more superior on any level than they are, but for some reason there's an alchemic combination that, that stops that energy being taken over. And
but see, what I've been very aware of for a long time is that just you and I talking right now is building a strength to the coherency of that field that you're just expressing.
It does. Yeah.
Because I understand non-duality in a whole other alchemical way now from my own process, not from anything I read, not from any occult esoteric knowledge. I went through excruciating time with that, and you can't just be in non-duality. You can implode it. You have to accept the negative and the positive, but you can implode them. And when you start energetically imploding those realities, you're actually clearing space. You're literally creating and generating your own energy field, and that's going out and it's clearing it. But you can't leave out half of, the whole picture, right? It's not a matter of negating the negative. It's a matter of actually confronting it and inside yourself to begin with.
Yes.
I like the. We're not machines. We're people.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
Seems like we're all kind of thinking along the same track here.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that we talked and kind of,
Me too.
surprised that we're at that same point.
I know.
It's nice. It gives me hope because when you connect on this level, you know that you're on the right track. And I've been so just down with the negatives and battling for my light and as you say, soul sovereignty in this vulnerable position, because it just invites so much stuff to try and derail me, and on a physical level and now on a financial level. And it's quite incredible. I even managed to get my book out last year, and I'm writing a few this year. I'm writing a book on depression at the moment, surviving depression in a depressing world. And I'm it's coming from an ecological perspective and then holistic perspective. And for my other work, which is more based on the noosphere and the biosphere, because that aspect really interests me, how if we really connect with the earth energy, we have a lot more clarity and a better way of being understand things on a multidimensional level. And that's why it's so important for people to get back walking with nature and being with nature and communicating with nature, because nature is the expression of the multidimensional energy and consciousness coming into this realm, and it's the purest, highest form. And we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of that with understanding that plants have a consciousness and everything else.
I talk about communion, and that's the word I use. That's what we're reaching for, because it is communion.
Yes.
It is absolute communion. And I mean, I've had some incredible experiences with that lately, where even looking at the DNA of what we call alien races, and the connection to different animals on our planet, we don't get it yet. Okay, we're just beginning to get it.
That's right.
Just beginning, right? And so the trees and so all of this is right up where I'm looking at too. All of it. It's so exciting.
It's very exciting.
Huh? Oh, I know. So, and I have to write. I have to write. And I always write about the earth, and I always write as her. I have another voice in me that is her. and she speaks through me. Even though I know it's me, but she does speak through me, and she speaks with a lot of metaphor and poetry. And she's trying to alliterate our reality again. She's trying to wake us up and to her. And so I'm totally with you on that, Carlita.
On that level, for me, and that's the true interface that we can use and tap into to heal ourselves against the negative energy. It's such a shame that my work is mostly computer-based and writing, because I have to get away and spend time in nature and be with nature to heal, and the more I spend on the computer, the more vulnerable I am. And I just don't like using tablets or Android stuff, and I'm really old-fashioned. A problem for me to use that kind of technology, because it's for some reason it's much easier to be sabotaged. So
I mean, the only reason I could talk to you probably, get off the computer. That's what happens. Is like I'm at my saturation point, not with talking with you, but with this device.
Yes, exactly.
And I recognize when it happens, and I'm like, okay, now is the time. Close it down. Go sit in the sun for a while. Stare at the sky. So it's been so beautiful, Carlita. And I will put something together very soon, and let's be back in touch soon.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the story goes, if you never slow down and you never go, there's a great big world just waiting to be whole, but you're still lying around, and the days fly by like a cloudy sky, and you're glued to the TV, never blinking an eye, and the world will keep changing, time passing you by, but you're just waiting to die. So won't you come outside? There's a beautiful world just waiting for you. No, but not seem like it's all just a waste of time. Sometimes, but you gotta decide, are you really alive, or are you just waiting to die? Just waiting to die. Once, well then I told you twice. You never win a gun battle if you're bringing a knife, and the truth, it doesn't hurt if it's spelled out right, but it's just too easy to give up the fight, to just place the blame, scream the name, point the crooked finger. It's all the same. It's just a dirty little game that we keep playing, full of dirty little lies and a dirty little brains, and it's all to maintain when we're locked away. Time to open up the door and come out to play, because the sun's in the sky and it's a beautiful day. The world is wide open, hey, what do you say now? Won't you come outside? Well, there's a beautiful world and it's waiting for you. And I know it might seem like it's all just a waste of time sometimes, but you gotta decide, are you really alive, or are you just waiting to die? Won't you come outside? Well, there's a beautiful world and it's waiting for you. I know it might seem like it's all just a waste of time sometimes, but you gotta decide, are you really alive, or are you just waiting to die? Just waiting to die. Won't you come outside. There's a beautiful world and it's waiting for you. And I know it might seem like it's all just a waste of time sometimes, but you gotta decide. Are you really alive? Or are you just waiting to die? Waiting to die.